How would you describe Pap and Grandma as a couple?
Faithful.
Sweet.
Goals.
They're a partnership. They're partners. They help each other, they support each other, and they love each other. It's great.
Soulmates.
Unified.
Together.
Perfect. Perfect example of a loving relationship.
Very caring.
Welcoming.
Inspirational.
Perfect.
Grandma and Pap are parents. They did the parenting thing.
Legendary!
How would you describe Pap?
Funny.
Funny and creative.
Preston County Country Club lawnmower extraordinaire.
Industrious.
Smart, funny, and a hillbilly.
Storyteller.
Pap is a people watcher.
Stubborn.
Troublemaker and snarky in a good way.
Expert locksmith.
Goofy.
Friendly.
Storyteller.
The pull-up champion of West Virginia.
Always has words of wisdom.
Great Grandpap.
A fixer-upper.
Fiddler.
Clever.
Funny.
Pap is a thinker.
Creative and kind-hearted.
Ingenious.
Forgiving, and he loves family, and he's just a wonderful person.
How would you describe Grandma Shaffer?
Patient.
Strong and kind.
Loving.
An angel.
Kind, gentle, and loving.
Loving.
Grandma is a saint.
Always willing to help others.
Loving.
Great Grandma.
Compassionate, strong, and devoted.
She's always there, and she's ready.
Patient.
Kind-hearted and always there for you.
Leader.
Intelligent.
Loving and welcoming.
Warm.
Kind-hearted.
Loving.
Spiritual.
Brave.
Very sensible, smart, and quiet.
What makes you think of Grandma Shaffer and Pap?
Organs.
Working outside and good food.
Buckwheat cakes and frosted sugar cookies.
Trudy. Buckwheat cakes and tractors.
The cute couple Fred and I want to be.
Buckwheat cakes.
The bird feeder.
Cookies.
West Virginia.
Good food and my 1988 Chevy S10 Blazer.
Spending time in West Virginia in the wintertime.
When I see a couple holding hands, I think of Grandma and Pap because whenever they're out in public, they're always holding hands.
West Virginia. Buckwheat cakes. Crystal. And antique tools.
Chainsaws, tractors, walking sticks, good food, cookies, buckwheat cakes.
Mountains.
One thing that makes me think of Pap is being outdoors. And one thing that makes me think of Grandma is anytime you cook or bake.
Family.
Cookies.
Buckwheat cakes in West Virginia.
What is the funniest story Pap has ever told you, or a funny experience you had with Pap?
The funniest story I've heard from Pap? The toilet paper square. Enough said.
Chasing the bull up in West Virginia in the Kubota around the fence.
Pap is always full of funny stories, but there are really two that stick out for me. The first one would be the time when he took a lawnmower and put it at the end of the driveway, and he put a sign on it that said, "Not for sale." And the second story would be the time when he stood at the end of the driveway with a hammer, and he waited for a car to drive by, and when the car got close, he started hitting that hammer on a big rock. And the whole point of doing this was to stir up talk among the neighbors as they tried to figure out what on earth Pap was doing with that hammer to that rock.
I can remember the men skinning squirrels in Grandma Kidwell's kitchen.
Funny story from Pap goes back to his days when he was in the military. And he and his buddies had to carry one of his other buddies back to the camp. Along the way, something happened. Pap stepped on the guy's dentures.
But when Pap was a driver in the Korean War, one night him and his buddies went out to a bar or a restaurant, and everyone except Pap got really drunk. So it was Pap's responsibility to take them all home and make sure they got home safe. And he helped one particular friend get into the Jeep or the car or whatever it was, and his partials fell out.
When I asked Pap what the greatest invention of his entire lifetime has been, he sat and he thought, and he thought. And he said, well, probably electricity.
Pap scared me with the snakeskin in West Virginia.
I remember being in West Virginia and there was a beehive in the tree right out front. And so Pap said he knew how to take care of it. So he just got out a gun and shot it down.
So there was one morning where we were all there having breakfast, and I think it was Steph asked Pap, which of your grandkids do you think looks most like you? And Pap quickly said, God, I hope none of them.
Pap's boat ride to Japan in the Korean War and the bathroom situation.
We were trying to fix the tractor in West Virginia and the gas line came off and gas was spraying everywhere, and Pap, almost on instinct, shoved the gas line in his mouth, blew as hard as he could, and stopped the gas from leaking everywhere.
One time I was asking Pap about his time in Korea, and he told me there was one night he thought he got shot. Turned out he ran over a 40-gallon gas can.
I can remember when Pap tried to make a frozen pond out of our backyard.
What is your fondest memory with Pap and Grandma?
When we were younger, we would help dig potatoes, and Pap would have to stay behind me because I always put the potatoes back in the ground.
One of my fondest memories of Mom and Dad is when they came up to New York City to see my graduation from Cornell when I got my PhD, because they drove into the city, which they weren't fond of, and they were with Fred's mom and dad. So we have this great picture, and Margaret was a baby, so we have a great picture of them, and I think my mom is holding Margaret outside of Lincoln Center right before we went into my graduation. It was a great, great day.
My fondest memory with Pap is playing dominoes in West Virginia. My fondest memory with Grandmom is baking all kinds of goodies in West Virginia, from cinnamon buns to donuts to homemade ice cream.
My own wedding, and when we made them grandparents.
The Go Devil.
Grandma and Pap coming to Texas for the wedding.
So one of the fondest memories I have with Grandma and Pap, of which there are many, was last year when I was helping them install the new sunk pump in the house at White Marsh. Pap told us what to do, Grandma did the actual work, and I just stood there and looked pretty and held the sunk pump together. So it was installed, and I had very little to do with that. Shows how they work together to do everything.
Christmas trips to West Virginia.
Going to church and going back to the house for a wonderful meal. Peeling corn with Pap. Having fun.
Our family that we have had together.
My fondest memory with Pap and Grandma is spending time with them at the Wetzel settlement in West Virginia. Whether it was just walking outside with Pap or helping him split wood or do things around the house, look for the golf hole that was buried in the grass. Those things were always a lot of fun for me. And then of course coming inside and having an amazing home-cooked meal by Grandma. That's something that's really special for me.
One of my most favorite experiences with my mom and dad happened fairly recently when we were, Fred and I and Rachel were taking them through the airports to get to Emily Ann and Ben's wedding. I think they were probably the cutest couple in the airport, was they talked to everyone. So it was wonderful to see people talk as opposed to almost everyone else in the airport who was staring at their cell phone or their devices. Mom and Dad talked to every other elderly person they saw and had a wonderful time going through the airport.
My fondest memory with Grandma was blowing bubbles when I was little in West Virginia. And my fondest memory with Pap was shooting blackbirds in West Virginia off the front porch.
The high-limb chainsaw.
So when I first came to West Virginia, I heard a lot of people say Mary and Boods. And I was like, who's Boods? What is that? So Pap is also Boods, B-U-D-Z, for absolutely no reason that I can tell.
Two things, having kids and getting married, in that order.
What is one thing you've learned from Pap and Grandma?
One thing I learned from Pap was how to eat buckwheat cakes the correct way. One thing I've learned from Grandma is how to make them so that everybody likes them.
Pap taught me how to find a good walking stick, and Grandma taught me that a recipe is just a guideline.
Grandma taught me how to be polite while going over to someone else's house and to also always ask before going to get a cookie. And Pap taught me what people call the redneck way of life, which is how to make do with whatever you have.
I learned how to pick out a wonderful husband, and I learned how to sew.
Pap was giving Luke some advice about going to an interview, and he said when they ask the question, answer it and then shut up.
How to make buckwheat cakes, how to grow potatoes, and how to fall a tree with a set point on the ground.
You'll know she's the one when her farts smell like roses.
Turkey calling.
Patience and forgiveness.
How to enjoy the small things in life.
Most important thing she taught me was think before you say anything.
So one thing that Emily and I learned from Grandmom is not to sweat the small stuff. When we used to come over Grandmom's house for sleepovers, and one of us would get upset, Grandma would always say, "Surely you're not crying over blah, blah, blah." And she would always tell us there's no crying at Grandma's. So we learned to quickly get over whatever we were upset about and move on to the next thing.
One thing I learned from Grandma and Pap is to give back. To your church, your school, your friends, give back.
Grandma and Pap taught me how to be true to myself.
Never be afraid to speak your mind.
That music brings people together.
If you could thank Grandmom for one thing, what would it be?
She's an excellent mother.
Is there anything you want to tell Grandmom about your 60 years together?
Still love her.
If you could thank Pat for one thing, what would it be?
He's been very loving to me.
And is there anything you want to tell Pap about your 60 years together?
Oh, it's gone by fast. And as far as I'm concerned, we have had a wonderful life together for the 60 years.
Happy anniversary. We love you.
Happy anniversary! We love you!
Happy anniversary!
Hey Mom and Dad, how you doing? Congratulations, really looking forward to the party. 60 years, quite an achievement. Love you a lot.
Happy anniversary! I love you!
Happy anniversary. We love you.
Hi Grandma and Grandpa, congratulations on 60 years and I hope you have another 60 more. Happy anniversary!
Happy anniversary. We love you.
Happy anniversary. We love you.
Happy anniversary, Grandma and Pap. I love you so much.
Happy anniversary, Grandma and Pat. We love you.
Happy anniversary. We love you.
Happy anniversary. We love you.
Happy anniversary. We love you. And may there be many more.
Happy 60th.
Happy anniversary. We love you.
Happy anniversary. I'm so happy for you both, and I hope that you have another 60 years.
Happy anniversary. We love you.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, Mom and Dad.
Happy anniversary. We love you.